Greetings everyone, Oscar here, and welcome to my review for the newest DC animated movie, Batman vs. Robin. Now for those of you who don't know, or for those of you who needs a reminder, Batman vs. Robin is the follow-up to 2014's horrendously bad Son of Batman, a movie that I never ever, under any circumstances, hope to watch ever again. Now, before I start talking about this movie, I would like to say that there might be some potential spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want anything spoiled, then I suggest that you pause this video right here, go watch the movie, and then come back. But now, with that said, let's review Batman vs. Robin. The plot of the movie is pretty simple enough. After the events of Son of Batman, Damian has now been living with Bruce for several months now, and during this time they have been training together, going out on patrols together, and they have actually started to bond a bit as father and son. But things are still a bit rocky between them, as Batman doesn't entirely trust Damian, since he believes that if Damian is left unsupervised, Damian will fall back into his League of Assassin ways, and start killing people. And this makes Damian a bit frustrated with Batman, since Damian have been trying his hardest not to kill. But still, that isn't enough, since Bruce keeps Damian locked up at Wayne Manor 24/7. So as you can understand, things are not looking good between them at the moment. But their relationship is brought to the ultimate test when a mysterious assassin known as Talon shows up and starts to corrupt Damian and tries to lead him on a darker, much more violent path. So now, Batman and Robin will have to settle their differences and fight back this mysterious foe before it's too late. Before I ever saw this movie, I had this preconceived notion that this movie was gonna suck, and it was gonna be a bad follow-up to an even worse movie. But to my surprise, the movie was actually surprisingly good. Yes, it was genuinely good. Granted, it's not a masterpiece, it still has some flaws, but I get to that later. Right now, I just want to focus on the things that I did like about the movie, and then I will continue to talk about the things that I didn't like so much. What I did really like in this movie is the relationship between Bruce and Damian. Their relationship felt very natural, it felt very real, and it was handled 100 times better than in Son of Batman, because now they got to spend time together. They've gotten to know each other a bit, and you can see in this movie that they are very similar to one another. Both are very stubborn, both are very driven, and they're always used to get what they want. So, of course, as I said, the conflict between them comes very naturally. Now, despite what all the advertisement I've told you about the bad guys of this movie being the Court of the Owls, that is not the case. The real bad guy in this movie is Talon. And he's a very fun bad guy. Granted, he's no William Cobb, but he is still a great bad guy. I really like that they did humanize him a bit more, so that makes it easier for us to actually relate to him. And during the course of the movie, you can see as to why he wants Damian Wayne in the Court of Owls, because he sees Damian Wayne as a kindred spirit. He wants to help Damian become the master assassin that he was born to be, and so it makes sense for him to eradicate Batman, since Batman is a very huge obstacle in Talon's plans. The animation in this movie is 100 times better than it was in Son of Batman. They still use the same kind of animation style, but for some reason, I just find that this animation is way better than it was in Son of Batman. And the fight scenes in this movie are awesome. I mean, wow. I only wish that we could get a live-action Batman movie with these kinds of fights in it. Cause, man, when Batman and the Talons throw down, they really throw down in this one. The voice acting, as always, in these DC animated movies are top-notch. All the actors do a very good job at portraying their characters. So, major kudos to Andrea Romano, who is the voice director of this movie, as well as the other DC animated movies. As always, she does a fantastic job. Originally, I wasn't fully on board with Jason O'Mara as Batman, but he's actually started to grow on me, and I started to accept him as Batman. Granted, he's no Kevin Conroy. And speaking of Conroy, Kevin Conroy is actually in this movie. I won't say which character he voices, but when you see it, you'll be like, yes, that makes sense that he voices that character. As I said, this is a good movie, but it's not without its flaws, and those are the flaws that I'm going to talk about now. The movie is partially based on two very recent Batman story arcs from the New 52. One is, of course, Court of Owls, written by Scott Snyder, and the other one is Born to Kill from the Batman and Robin series, written by Peter Tomasi. And to their best of their abilities, the writers of this movie did actually try to rewrite these two stories so that they fit with one another. But sadly, I feel like the Court of Owls parts of this movie was added on in the last second because the movie makers knew exactly how popular that story arc was, and so they just wanted to add it in there. For the majority of the time, it feels kind of forced to have the Court of Owls in there. I would have felt much better if they would actually have done a standalone Court of Owls movie without all this drama between Batman and Robin. By saying that, I think it would have been much better if they just went with the Born to Kill story arc, or if they just would have done an original story. Another thing that I didn't really like about this movie was the character of Dick Grayson. For some reason, he's acting a bit out of character, and the way that he is portrayed in this movie is not the kind of way that he's portrayed in any other media, not even in the comic books. He feels a bit out of character, which is something that I didn't really like. Another huge downside to this movie is that it is very predictable. You know that Batman and Robin will have a falling out, you know that they will kiss and make up, and then they will kick some ass together in the third act. Yeah, everyone and their grandma can see all the plots and twist turns coming from a mile away. And of course, since this is a pseudo adaptation of the Court of Owls, they had to rewrite some stuff and have to write some stuff out of this. For example, the character of Lincoln March, he's nowhere to be seen in this movie. That's not a bad thing, but they do have a character in this movie that is supposed to be the equivalent of Lincoln March. And when I saw this character, I was like, yes, that character is a member of the Court of Owls. No questions about it. And yeah, that kind of took the twist out of it a bit. Another thing that I didn't really like about this movie was the amount of blood and gore in this movie. And I know, I sound like a very conservative soccer mom when I say that, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to have blood and gore in an animated movie. Quite the contrary. Sometimes it actually makes sense if you use blood and gore in the right amount. And I feel like this movie overused it quite a bit. And yes, I know, the world that Batman resides in is a very violent one, and people are eventually going to die in the story. But I feel like they could have toned down the bloodiness a bit, like, try to find a nice balance of it, like they did in Batman Under the Red Hood, which I think is a good example of how to use the right amount of blood and gore in an animated movie. But despite all that, the movie is still a very good one. It's a lot better than Son of Batman, Justice League War, and Throne of Atlantis, but it's not as good as the previous movies that came before it. I like this movie, and I think a lot of people are gonna have a good time with it as well. So yeah, if you have the time, please go watch Batman and... I almost said Batman and Robin. You don't want to watch that. You want to watch Batman versus Robin. That's the movie that I want you to watch. We don't usually do ratings here at the Hybrid Network, but if I were to rate this movie, then I would give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. And I would also like to say, if you're going to watch this movie, make sure that the kids are sleeping. You do not want to show this movie to a kid, because some things in this movie will fuck the kid up. Seriously, don't do it. But yeah, all in all, great movie. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Have you seen the movie? And if you have, what did you think about it? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was horrible? Please tell me in the comments down below. And signing off, this is Oscar, and have a great day, guys. Take care.
Oh, hey. I hope you guys enjoyed what you just saw. I don't know what exactly you just saw, but I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you really did like it, go check out our other stuff. You know, we have social media, Facebook, Twitter. The link should be somewhere here. Also, we have other channels too. We have our movie video game channel. We have our music channel. Obviously our comic book channel too, because we know we do all that entertainment awesomeness. We also have a website. Go to our website, hybridnetworkyt.com, and check out our other videos. That's all I really have to say. It's Josh, and I hope you guys enjoyed what you watched.